Hi, welcome to this episode of Northbound Expeditions. In this video we're going to review the Vevor air compressor and I'm going to compare it directly to its rival, the Smittybilt air compressor, which is, by the looks, they're identical. They look the same. Performance, there are a few different features which we're going to take a closer look at what makes them different, but overall they look identical. This one, the Vevor, boasts to be a 6 CFM, so cubic feet per minute, or inflation rate, so it's supposed to be faster than the Smittybilt, which has a 5.56 rate CFM. So we're going to do a side-by-side comparison at the same time. I'm going to inflate both my front and left, my front left and my front right tire down to the same PSI. We're going to go down to a 20 PSI. We're going to go back up to 35 PSI and see which one gets there first. So a few things I want to address and talk about that makes them different is the main reason why someone would want to look at an alternative of the already cheaper Smittybilt compared to ARB or Vevor or other air compressors. This is typically one of the more affordable ones on the market until now, because now you have the Vevor, which retails for about $100 less than the cheapest Smittybilt that I could find. So to be exact, the Vevor you can have for $150.99 Canadian. It's $150.99 Canadian compared to the Smittybilt. The cheapest I could find was $267.94, and on Amazon $324.88. So $324.88 compared to $150.99. That's half the price. So is it half times better? Is it worth the difference? We're gonna find out. One thing I can say for sure is I have my experience with the air compressor from Smittybilt. I've had mine now for 7 years. This is actually the second one I have. I bought this one specifically for this Jeep here, for Savage. My other one is hardwired in Fury, my green Jeep, and it's been running for 7 years now straight, and it still runs perfectly fine. So I know they are reliable. I have not done any maintenance on it or replaced any parts on it up to this date. One thing is though, this cap right here on my other one is right now a bit loose and wobbly, but it is still running perfectly fine. So some of the differences that I want to point out is the quality. One of the first things I noticed with the bag, they both come in the same bag. They both come with the same accessories, which is this little bag here of attachments for different nozzles. They both have the exact same piece, the same bag. I cannot tell any real difference in quality from the bags, other than the zipper on this one is a little bit smaller than the zipper on this one. But about bags, I can tell you both bags suck. So if you do need a better bag, we make a much better bag for the air compressor, which is Stephanie's air compressor is in this bag here right now. Double zipper on top. We can take a close look at this later. Rubber on the bottom, stronger, and looks nicer anyway. So now back to the air compressors. The quality of the compressor themselves. So you can see the first thing that stands out is just the feeling of the components. The feeling of the Smittybilt hose, it feels nice, it feels a little bit soft to the touch, it feels more rubbery. Whereas on the Vevor, it's black, it feels lighter in weight, and it's just more, it's plastic. It's more plasticky, it's harder. They're the same length, but this one just seems more rigid, which could be beneficial to the fact where it's easier to keep it contained and pack, whereas the other one is more elasticy, so it kind of gets twisted easier. So pros and cons, I guess, to both. The other thing is the gauge looks the same, and I think it might be the same, except on the back of the Vevor compressor you don't have a drain valve where you can just push and then release some air. But the look on the face is the same. The tip that you screw in is significantly different. On the Vevor, it's very small. Again, it's very plasticky, and the screw-on tip itself is very small. So I can barely fit my fingers on this, and you have to twist this on. That makes it a little bit more difficult. If you compare this to, again, the Smittybilt one, which has the same looking gauge, The rubber around it seems to be rubber, but the other one is plastic. And then on the back, like I said, you have this little valve you can push to release some air, to readjust. And if you go a little bit over, you can just again drain some air from that way. And also you can release the pressure of the hose afterwards once you're done inflating. The piece here in the bottom, it's also plastic, but it just seems a little bit more sturdy. And the piece right here to screw on, again, is bigger. It has a nice little grip for your fingers, and it feels easy. It's easier to put it on. Okay, and then one more difference that I want to point out is the clamps with which you mount to the batteries. Overall, the Vevor ones are a little bit bigger. The Smittybilt ones are a little bit smaller. Looking inside, the coil spring inside of these ones is larger. This one is smaller, but they kind of feel almost the same. But the most noticeable difference, other than the shape and the looks of them, these are the square, these ones are round, is the length of the cable. So this one is about 6 feet, give or take. Maybe a little bit more. No, I'm 6 feet, so that's probably what I use as a reference right now. And then this one, which is significantly longer. Not sure if I'm in the frame all the way. So maybe we do it this way. Put them side by side, in the same spot, and just lengthwise, you can see it's about an arm's length. I'm using all these super accurate scientific measurements today, so this is arm's length difference. And the last noticeable difference between the two compressors themselves is, while they look the same in a different color scheme, the ventilation marks are a bit different, but other than that, overall they look the same. This one here, you can actually remove the hose directly from the body, whereas on Smittybilt you can't. The disconnect is further down on the hose on the Smittybilt. Whereas on here, there is no further disconnect. This is one piece from here. So that would explain the reason why it's on here. For the Smittybilt has a safety built in to prevent overpressure or damage to the compressor by having this release valve here. And that's going to start popping when, for example, if you don't when I use my Speedflate, for example, it has a valve to open on the four-way. So if that's not open, this will compress and then just puff air every a couple of seconds, because the sputtering the air is not going in, so it's releasing it. Whereas on this one, it doesn't have this blow-off valve for safety. All right, so now let's get into it and compare. Let's air down and then get straight into the one-by-one comparison. Okay, we're both at 12 now on each side. It's a little bit more than I expected to go down. I wanted to do 20. We learned that if you don't start your Jeep, that the readout on your TPMS sensor gauge display inside the cabin doesn't actually adjust. So auxiliary power alone does not adjust the number, so you have to actually have it started. And when we did, it showed 15 on one side and 17 on the other side, even though I was reading out 14 on the Curry digital readout. So that's what I'm going to go off now, and rather than trusting the computer to catch up at the right time, we will simply just put 2 minutes on the clock and then see which one is at the highest afterwards, using this gauge right here. I'm going to attach the Vevor one, which is shorter, stubby thing. So the gauge readout on this one now reads approximately, that's 25, then that's 20, 15, 10, 5, 0, so 5, 10, 15, reads about 16, give or take. It's not very accurate because it's gauge, a needle. So let's take a look at the Smittybilt one, how that one reads out right now. But the first observation is trying to put this on. It's so small, I lost a little bit of air coming out, trying to get it on there. Whereas on the other side, it was definitely easier to get it on. So let's compare the gauges. Approximately 16. Okay, now this one is showing lower at approximately 12, 13. So this one is more accurate than what it actually is on a Smittybilt one. Okay, so I'm going to take the timer, start, and I'm going to go at 3, 2, I think I get 5 seconds exactly, no, correction, 10 seconds, and 3, 2, 1, go. That's 4 minutes minus 10 seconds. So 4 minutes of airing up. We'll see now what they're at. Okay, so first on the gauge of the Smittybilt compressor itself, the built-in gauge, it shows one line below 50. So I'm assuming that's about 45. I'm going to compare it and confirm that on the Curry digital one. Okay, so this one I'm at 41.5. 41.5. So that's after 4 minutes. Exactly 4 minutes. From 12 psi to 40. 41. Now this one analog gauge shows 50 psi. I'm going to confirm on the digital one. 44. So you got 3 psi more in 4 minutes on the Vevor than we got on the Smittybilt. So it is faster. The verdict is in. It is faster. I don't know if you can see it on here. 44. 44 psi, and on here that shows us 50. So again, it's not exactly accurate, but it's close enough. You know, if you're just need to get an idea. Off and on, airing up and down a couple times a day, close enough to get on the road, it will do. Knowing it's always a little bit higher than what it actually shows. Okay, so the verdict is in. We had 44 psi in 4 minutes, from 12 to 44. And on the Vevor, on the Smittybilt, we had from 12 to 41 in the same amount of time in 4 minutes. So yes, there's a difference. They both sound and feel the same when they're operating. They both got hot in the same spots, to about the same temperature to the touch. So overall, the question is the little things like the smaller length of the nozzle on the Vevor, is that worth $150 difference to compared to the Smittybilt one? The gauge being slightly less accurate. You know, this is a question you want to ask yourself. Is that worth the price difference? Half the price, $150 versus $350, essentially. So that's your decision to make. This is the feedback you can have from the quality itself, from the piece, the actual manufacturing. I wouldn't be surprised if they were the same factory, they look the same. A lot of things coming out of China these days are made in the same factories, just with different brands, different labels, different colors, and a few different options. So that's how you get some cheaper rooftop tents. and others are expensive, but they're coming from the same factory and overall are the same quality. So I'm assuming, this again is an assumption, it is similar with these two items. So whether the safety valve built in will help the Smittybilt to survive longer versus the absence of a safety valve on the other one, if that makes a difference, I don't know. Long term, I cannot speak to their length, to their durability and efficiency. So by short term, the winner is the Vevor. It's faster, if that's what you're going for, is speed. Overall quality, however, I'm going to have to give it to Smittybilt. It does have the better, nicer quality. So if you want the absolute top notch, if money is not the biggest issue for you when you make your decisions for purchasing stuff, it is this compressor with this bag, and you're in the clear. You have to get the best option, the best of both worlds. Otherwise, get the Vevor for half the price, and you get a faster compressor, but again, a crappy bag, so get the better bag, and you're in a good deal. You're in a good spot. So thanks for watching, and please remember to subscribe and like this video.